gun ready to go woodcock hunting. This is going to be episode 4. And I'm in the process of putting a recoil pad on it. I ordered this recoil pad from Italy. So it's almost 3/4 of an inch thick. Anyway, so I want a 14-inch length of pull. So I'm going to show you how I get the angle that I want. So this gun here, in my mind, is just a little long in the toe. That would be this down here. For me, it's got a little curve in it. And so I'm going to take some of that out. So how do you find that angle, that sweet spot? There's obviously whoever did this squared it from the... If you look at that, they've got it square from, if you lay the barrels flat, and they square it off of that. And that's okay if you like that longer toe. I don't really. The other way you can do it is you can square off the top of the stock, but that's a little bit too much of an angle the other way. So what I've done here is I've split the difference between this angle here and the angle that's the top of my rib. So basically, if I went this angle here, that's a little bit, in my mind, that's a little bit too blunt. I've done that before, and then I didn't care for how it looked. The more drop a gun has, the more it doesn't look quite right. So I don't like the long toe. We got to get rid of that. So I've split the difference halfway between this angle and this angle. So I measured from my front trigger back 13 and 3/8. That's what I have to do till I add this to have 14 inches. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to put a piece of blue masking tape on my line, because you can't see the line, and neither can I barely can. I'm gonna put that right on the line here. Plus it gives me a good visual to be able to picture how that angle is going to be. I'll show it to you here. So this will be the angle, and to me that looks about right for a shotgun. It's a nice angle. It'll come up and hit your shoulder nice. So that's how we're going to do it. Okay, I'm going to cut the stock off. Now usually I use a table saw, sometimes a chop saw. If you do that, you have to make sure that, sometimes I'll take a little bit off and I'll look at it and take a little bit more till I have it like I want it, because I don't have the proper miter type saw that will get me the perfect cut. So if you're going to do that, you need to take something, square all this up, so that when you get all done, this angle here is square. So you don't have a pitch on your stock. So the way I do it, usually I take the barrels off and I lay it on a table. And then I square it up, and I put shims under here. I'll just use pieces of leather till I have it the exact height I want, because you think about it, your fences here on your barrels, back of your barrels, is wider than your stock. So if you just lay it down and cut it, you're obviously not going to end up with a very nice job. So this has to be laying perfectly square on your table. It's a good idea to wrap this part. First of all, you don't want to get a bunch of sawdust in it. And second of all, it doesn't skin it up if you push it through your saw. Or, yeah, with a miter saw, it's not quite such a big deal. But I'm going to cut this one by hand because I don't have my miter saw here. It's at home, and I want to get this done today. So I have a hand saw here that'll work just fine. I'm going to take off the stocking forend, and after I get it cut, I'll show it to you. Okay, here's my cut job. I'm going to have to check the the angle here for square. That's sort of a easier said than done, but what I'm going to do is I can feel that right there, and I'm really close with my square to having it cut square, and I know I got the angle this way that I wanted. So now I'm going to take it over there to that belt sander right there, and I'm going to flatten it up just a little, check it, make sure that we're good all the way around, and we'll go from there. Okay, that to me looks perfect. That fits nice. I don't see a problem. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my little tool here. I'm going to measure the distance between the holes in this recoil pad, the screw holes. Because I have to drill my holes in the stock according to that. That's 3 1/4 inches. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a black line down the middle of this so that I know I get my holes in the middle of the stock. Now I've got a line in the center, and those 2 dots right there, X's, and right there are where I'm going to drill my holes. I found myself 2 screws that are of the appropriate size and shape. And I've got my recoil pad, but you see how it's got big holes back here and it's not quite cut through there? I got to fix that. Otherwise you'll bugger it up. So I'm going to take this little knife and we'll cut through there. Some people go crossways to the pad. I like more, I prefer to go more up and down the same way the pad is. So I'll hold my knife straight like that, punch it through there. Now we got to grease these guys up, because if I don't, they won't slip through that rubber nice. So I'll show you what I use for that. Vaseline works real good. I don't have any, so what I'm going to use is, I've used this many times before, it's just regular old saddle soap. Smear it on there. You can wipe it off when you're done. And push that baby in there. And I'll take my screwdriver. It's a good idea to find a screwdriver or a turn screw that is the right size before you start, because otherwise it's pretty hard once it's inside there to know for sure what the screw should look like. So I may have to go get a screwdriver in the shop. Got everything except the Phillips here. Got a couple Phillipses that are real little. So I'll grab a screwdriver. Wait a minute, here's one. Tip. Yeah, that's a real nice fit. That guy right there. Real nice fit in that screw. But this is pretty fat, this screwdriver shank. So I'm going to go find a slender screwdriver. Now, if you can find a screwdriver with a real skinny shank, that's ideal, because you're not going to bugger up rubber quite as bad. Now I'm just going to take my screwdriver and I'm going to push that in there like that. So the hole hasn't changed, the screw sticking out, but it was all greased up, and that makes a big difference. Greased up with saddle soap, or like I say, Vaseline works real good. I'm a saddle maker, so I use what I have at hand, and that today just happened to be saddle soap. I like it because it's just a glycerin soap and it doesn't hurt anything. In fact, I've always used that. Sometimes I use that just to polish up. Okay, there you can see I've got my holes drilled. That's just sort of a fly by the seat of your pants moment. You gotta stay on your line and drill, but check both ways to make sure you're getting you're nice and square with the gun. Now what I have to do is put this on, take it back off. But in the meantime, I'm going to mark it. I'll put it on, screw it on there tight. I'll mark it where I have to grind it to. And then I'll take it back off. I'll go grind it and then put it back on. Then I can polish it on the gun. I have to just put some tape on the stock so I don't buff up my nice English finish. This is what you do though when you're just a cowboy and saddle maker and you don't really have all of the proper gun tools, but you really like nice work, so you just think about it, go carefully, and you can do a really, really nice job like I'm doing. You can see I've got it screwed on there, way too big. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my little knife and I'm going to go around and I'm going to make a real deep scratch mark on the black part of my recoil pad. I'm going to cut into the black rubber, plastic rubber, whatever it is, the back of the recoil pad. I want a nice deep scratch in it because I'm going to take some chalk and I'm going to mark that really good so I don't have to take it on and off a whole bunch. Now I got that. I'll show you. Now I've got to get this angle here, because you see this angle here has got to carry on through the pad. You don't want to chop that off straight. That looks really ugly. So how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to simply take my level. I'm going to line it up with my stock. Put down some leather here so I can see it rocking around. I'm going to line it up nice. There I got my line. You can see it there. The first line I didn't like, so I made two. Now I'm gonna go on the other side and make one too, so that I have one on each side, so I don't accidentally grind off more than I want. There. All right, I'm gonna take it back off and go grind it on that grinder right there, and it's a messy task. Now you take a piece of white chalk and you color over that scratch mark you made in your pad real good, and then you wipe it off. So it isn't hard at all to see my line there. So I'll grind it to that line, I'll grind it to that angle, and it's should be a pretty nice fit. So I ground the angle off first. Okay, there she is. I think we're gonna be really, really close. I shouldn't have to take it off again. If it's really close, like really close, what I'll do is I will, if it's a little proud to the gun, I'll actually tape the gun up and I'll take a little a block sander, and I'll touch it up some, but I think we're gonna be super close. I'm just rubbing some saddle soap on here, glycerin soap so I can clean this a little nicer. I'll have to polish it anyway. At home I have a kind of a big belt sander that has a real fine belt, and I can put a little nicer finish on this. But this is actually really good. I'm super happy with this. Okay, there she is. I love these orange recoil pads with that dark wood. And these little guns, these little 25 Churchill guns, they're so light. They only weigh 6.5 pounds, and they will really have a little kick if you're shooting 1 ounce a shot, 28 grams. So there I have it. I'll have to polish it just a little more, brighten it up some more, but actually I'm pretty happy with it just the way it is. It fits the gun real nice. It fits me really pretty. That little bit shorter stock feels a lot better to me. I just feel like this gun is going to really be a great woodcock gun, but the proof is in the pudding, right? Thanks for listening.